thanks for coming today. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about the practical side of applications. Okay, so this is a very, hopefully not too boring, but a very practical talk about how to hopefully be successful with your application. The focus is postgraduate. Okay, so this is for students that are currently at university and want to continue studies afterwards. So mostly for 1 year master's courses. So my name's Mark. I'm a little bit different because I actually offer free help and advice on a very practical level, surprisingly enough. And so again, if you want to, I'll give you my contact details after the talk. Then I'll be happy also to help you on a very individual and personal basis as well. In this particular event, I'm representing the universities of York and Bristol. Similar universities in the sense that they are both ranked in the top 100 in the world. So they're very good institutions. Bristol has a little bit more of a wider portfolio. York is more of a social science university, but in terms of quality and the areas, then there's a lot of similarities. I'll give you information about my contact details afterwards, but that's just my email. So we start with number 1 on the list of requirements to look at, and that is language. Obviously, unfortunately, we have to look at the English language exam, and the key to the language issue is to prepare in advance. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are thinking of going in 2012 or maybe 2013, 2014, but basically the key to success with the language is to prepare. That means to take a class, a specific class, to prepare you for the exams, okay? If you want to go to the UK, don't worry too much about general English classes, but you must take specific preparation course for the exam, okay? Unfortunately, one thing is to speak English well, and another thing is to do well in the English exam, okay? So the problem with English exams is that they have very specific formats, and so you need to practice the format, okay? So you need to know what kind of questions they will ask you, how much time you have for each section of the exam. So you must prepare, not, as I said, in general English language. If your general language is good, that's great, but you probably still need to look at the details of the exam, of each English exam. Also, this seems maybe a bit obvious, but take the test. Many people talk to me about the English language exam, and they plan to do the exam in 6 months or in 9 months or in a long time. But the problem with that is that you don't know the level of your language. You need to take a test to measure the level of your language, okay? So maybe you have the level already. Fantastic. You take the test, you get the score, end of story. But if you don't, then maybe you are only 10 points short on a TOEFL score, or 0.5 less on an IELTS score. But until you take the test, you don't know what your real language score is. So I encourage you, without any practice, without any preparation, to take a test and to see what your level is. Because then it's the only way that you will know what you need to achieve the score, okay? Obviously, the practical side of things. Unfortunately, we have 2 issues about language. One is the university. So the university where you want to go will give you a requirement. It will say you need to achieve a particular level at English. But also, we have the problem of the visa authorities. Our friends in immigration also have requirements about English language. Now, those requirements are normally less than the university requirements, but they do dictate the kind of test that you can take. So basically, the IELTS and the TOEFL are recommended tests because they give you a score in each individual ability, so reading, writing, speaking, and listening. If you take a Cambridge test, which is obviously a very good test, but unfortunately, the Cambridge test will just give you a total score. It will give you an A or a B or a C. It doesn't give you a breakdown in each individual ability. So now, starting from last year pretty much, the recommended tests for student visas are the TOEFL and the IELTS, okay? So even if you have a Cambridge exam, I recommend that you take one of these two scores. Not so much for the university, because the university may say, yes, that's fine, you have your Cambridge Advanced English or your Cambridge Proficiency test. But if you don't have a score in each of the abilities, then you may have a problem with the visa, okay? And I personally recommend the IELTS test simply because the TOEFL IBT, or the TOEFL test that is recommended or is accepted by immigration, has, for some reason, the score that is required by immigration is slightly higher than on the IELTS. I think that is because the IELTS is a British exam, the TOEFL is an American exam, and so it's difficult for them to measure exactly. But if you want my personal recommendation, then I recommend the IELTS. But you can take the TOEFL test, but you must make sure it is the IBT version of the TOEFL test, the internet-based test, okay? There used to be, or maybe there still is, a paper-based test and a computer-based test from TOEFL, but you must make sure that it is the IBT, the internet-based test for the TOEFL. That's the only one which is accepted at the moment in terms of an easy transition for immigration, okay? So as I said, it's not so much the university, it's immigration that dictates the test that you need to do. It's a common problem, so that's why it's good for you to make this preparation. As in, many students will get admission academically into the university, and then for some reason they have a problem with one area of the English language. It could be speaking, it could be listening. Listening is a very common problem for non-native speakers. So again, the message is to practice and to do the test as soon as you possibly can, okay? Many universities offer what we call pre-sessional courses. What is a pre-sessional course? Basically, if the university says you need 6.5 on the IELTS and you get 6.0 on the IELTS, then you can take what is called a pre-sessional course, which is basically a short course before you start university, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, sometimes 10 or 12 weeks, and it just is a bridge between your current level of English and the level that is required by the university. Now, the positive thing, obviously, is it's good because you have chance to practice, you can go early, you can get used to the strange British accents, you can really kind of get used to the culture, you can settle down. The only downside is that will be an extra cost, okay? So if you go for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months before the start of your program, then it will be an extra cost for you, so you just need to take that into consideration. I recommend the 4-week program is really good, even if you have the level already. So let's say you need a 6.5 and you get a 6.5, but you're not confident maybe in your speaking, or you haven't got a lot of time to practice, then you could choose to go 4 weeks early and just take a practice course before you start, okay? So that would be a recommendation. Again, it's an extra cost, but I think 4 weeks is nice because it gets you there early and you get time to get used to the local language.